Hello, folks. It's so great to be here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Obviously, that was me singing the high pitched voice that looked like a female. No, actually, that was an amazing video. I happened to produce the video. I'm very proud of, but the singers and they did all their thing, and I cut it from the original video also. So, um, props to them. Fantastic job, folks. Please do us a favor. We are being attacked on Rumble daily. The good news is it seems like the recordings are working great and the numbers look good, but for some reason the live broadcast just gets hammered. And I can see it right now. Looking at the counter. So hang in there. We as you know, Lisa and I are working on in the background to Lisa mainly. I'll take credit for it though. To be putting this thing on to screwbiggov.com, which is muy importante that you get over to screwbiggov.com. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter. So if we get kicked off another channel, which we always do, you'll be able to find all our social media links. We'll send you out notifications where we're hiding, but we'll start broadcasting from our actual platform. If you want to see the video cages or any of the other 20 documentaries we've done, look at Remember Your Oath, Freedom in Action, get swag, support us with the products, or even donate. Just go to screwbiggov.com. And obviously, for a summary of just about everything we do, go to Robert's Telegram, Robert Imbriel, who I will introduce in a second, and it is Renegade Media. So go to Robert's Telegram at Renegade Media, and you can get everything that you need there because he really does a great job of summarizing, taking clips, and a lot of things that hit the cutting room floor, he will post up on there. So I'm very, very excited about the guests that we're going to bring on today in just a moment. This is, to me, one of the very few politicians, if you want to call him that, connected people that actually went to the border and saw what was going on. And I was blessed to spend some time with him and a team that we had down there right at the border. And that's where I met him. So he's a gubernatorial candidate, Phil Lyman. We're going to bring him on with my co host, Robert Imbraele. There we go, Robert, my main man.
Here we are.
People are asking about your back, brother. Let us know. How's it going?
It's healing. Let's just say it's healing. It was rough this morning, but it's much better now.
Good, good, good.
I'm getting
And
back in the game, to use a back joke.
a back joke back in the game. There's Robert and Bradley for you. So, Phil, welcome. So good to have you here.
Thank you, Lewis. It's really good to see you again.
Yep. So we had some fun on the border, if you call it that. Some kind of
Hmm.
weird close calls, some
Yeah,
oddness going
really
on, and
interesting.
you saw with your own eyes. There was about over 200 people just hanging out on this side of the border, waiting
Yeah,
for Border Patrol to come up and process them. Isn't it interesting, Phil, that 10 years ago, even less than that, if they crossed the border, they would look to see where Border Patrol was to avoid them. Now they want to engage with Border Patrol because they know they'll get processed and they'll be able to get their checks and their housing and their food if they can get processed through Border Patrol. And some of them were waiting, what, 2 to 3 days right there. They said, we're just going to
yeah,
camp here and wait for Border Patrol.
yeah. Just hanging out, waiting for the bus to show up.
It was just, it's madness. It's super
Well, and
madness.
the big sections of wall that were removed, and we said, well, why are we removing those sections? And they said, well, it's for convenience for people crossing. It's like that's not a wall. It's a monument. It's a symbol.
That's exactly right. And I counted 12 foot sections that
Yeah,
were removed. Um, and of course, one of the contractors there said it's for irrigation. I'm like, okay. Why not just remove one at a time then and post up guards, right? If it's
yeah.
for fixing the irrigation, you don't need to remove 12 at a time. So I called BS on that one, and then we got some good information from a border patrol in the dark of night that disclosed a lot, but he didn't want to be seen on camera, which we can understand.
Well, it
So
was a
Phil,
great trip, just to see it with your own eyes and to be there, so it's not abstract. It becomes very real.
yeah, and I want everybody to remember this name, Phil Lyman, because he actually went there, and he was at the time he was a representative of Utah, correct?
Correct. Still am actually.
Yep,
So
still are, right. So that's a big deal to me. Um, so what I'd like to do is, you have a harrowing story, and I don't think many people know about it. And I was just checking out your website, and I came across the video, and it's an 11-minute video, guys. We're gonna play right here, so you're gonna enjoy it with us at the same time. We'll be on the side of the screen, so Phil and Robert keep the nose picking probably down to a minimum, and then I'll do most of it, so to distract from you guys, so you'll be good. But we're
perfect.
gonna play this video, and it's called Truth Recaptured: The Lyman Story. And folks, pay attention. I believe this will blow you away. Wow. So that was very emotional for me, Phil. I cannot imagine. Well, I can because I saw you get choked up on the screen. But how was that? You revisiting that the video and everything that went along with that?
Yeah, I don't watch that very often. It's probably the third time I've actually seen it, and yeah, your kids pull at your heartstrings anyway, So, and I didn't realize, really till I saw this, I didn't realize that they were carrying some of those feelings. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Jody, my wife, did a beautiful job. I've got two other kids. She said, remind them that you got two other kids. They would have been on there. They just weren't available the day of the filming, but they were very involved as well. So,
Well, I'm not happy you went through it, but I appreciate somebody like yourself went through it, because you seem like, from what I've learned, such a kind, wonderful person. So it's the for you to go through that is and stand through that really shows the strength that, understandably, a lot of people are not showing when they're under the deep state's thumb. Let's just put it that way. They're not as stoic, and they cave, and I can imagine how many tens of thousands never even come forward because they see the attacks like somebody like yourself or other people's go through.
well, you do the same thing. You stand up for people that have been pushed down, and that's all I was doing when I did this. There's a lot more backstory to that, to the event, the protest, whatever we want to call it, that happened in 2014. And a lot of it was watching neighbors who had their homes raided by the Bureau of Land Management in 2009. Some really horrendous things that happened to my little town, and I, you know, thankfully, I'm blessed with an intolerance for injustice and
Hmm.
bullies, and I just um, I feel such an obligation to do something, and I'm not the best at it. They're much stronger, more well-equipped people to take those things on, but they don't do it. And so you find yourself saying, "Well, I'll stand up. I'll do this." I ran for county commissioner because of that, and then took this stand because I felt like I had a duty to the people. And um, yeah, I always say honest people have rights too. And if they don't, if other honest people won't stand up, then what's their hope? So.
Yeah, and I believe that's the stagnation that we have moving forward right now too. Is all the good, nice, honest people that still don't have the courage to stand up.
Well, and
I say,
yeah, yeah.
well,
Oh,
I say
sorry.
the
Go ahead.
story many times. On my way actually to meet the team and you at the border, I stopped by in Morongo just to pick up some hydration, and I was at a fountain doing it, and there was two Morongo police officers that were there, and they saw my shirt that says, remember your oath. We hold sheriffs accountable and support them. And you know how somebody's looking at you. They were staring at me the whole time, and then finally I turned around. I said, "You like that? What do you feel about that?" We had a conversation. Anyways, when we got deep into it, um, one guy opened up because I said, "Why don't you just stand up? You see this corruption all over the place. You know it's within your own departments. Why don't you just stand up?" And he goes, "Well, I would like to, but it's our pension and it's da 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 da." And I said, so what you're saying is that you're putting money and your short-term goals ahead of your long-term legacy, where you can live forever, and your family's going to say that guy is a hero. He stood up in the face of adversity, but you would rather just make sure the bills are paid. And he was that his partner got pissed. He was actually pretty cool. He said, "No, I understand where you're coming from, Lewis," because he got to know my name. And I said, he says, if only I can get 8 to 9 or 10 people to do it with me, he goes, I would do it. He goes, the problem is we have these conversations and nobody's willing to stand up. It's sad, but true.
Yeah. Well, it's a blessing. Yeah, it's a blessing to stand up for people, and then the path that it takes you on. I mean, I became the poster child for ATV activism, and I'm not really an ATV activist kind of guy, and I kind of became a poster child for standing up to the federal government, and so people call me, and kind of like they do you, people will call and say, "Hey, this is happening to my family," and it drives you. You find out, man, this is just so wrong what people are having to put up with and what they're dealing with, and but yeah, it is a I love being informed, I guess. I love feeling like the wool is not pulled over my eyes, that I see things clearly. And, somebody, a wiser person than me, said the truth will set you free. And I said, yeah, it'll bankrupt you. It'll take away everything you have. And you'll wake up one day and realize that you're free. Realize
Oh,
that you really are.
you're free. You're free. I got nothing, but I'm free,
I
right?
got nothing.
Yeah.
Yep. You still have
Beautiful
God and
thing.
family, though. That's what matters. Um,
Everything. Yeah. Yep. It's all that matters.
I'm sure, Robert, you have a question.
Yeah, Phil, that video is kind of telling because you saw the head of the BLM, telling you everything's fine, and then you realize he's not really in charge, that there are other people pulling his strings,
That's
right?
right.
And
That's
for
right.
him to show up and do what
Yeah.
he did. So, what's your feeling on that? You have politicians, you have police officers, border patrol, whatnot. All these
Yeah.
people, maybe they would do the right thing, but their strings are being pulled at a higher level. How do we deal
Yeah.
with
The
that?
collusion. Yeah. The collusion that goes on at those higher levels, globalist interests and the BLM right now. This was under Obama, but it's even worse under Biden. The director of the BLM, Tracy Stone Manning, is a former activist. Her deputy director, Nada Culver, was the uh, chief legal counsel for the Wilderness Society. So, a few years ago, she's suing the Bureau of Land Management, suing counties, and now she's running It's like literally the inmates are running the asylum at the Bureau of Land Management, and
Wow.
somehow at some point people just need to say this is just not acceptable. And uh, but in the meantime, just like we saw the weaponization of the IRS
Mhm.
and them going after people. Well, before that was disclosed, for 6 years, they continue to go after anybody that dares to suggest that there is weaponization of the IRS. And that's what we've got going on now with all the federal agencies. And I guess it's nothing. I guess it's nothing new, nothing that we should be surprised about. But it's still, people need to
No.
open their eyes and see that it's happening.
Yeah, I think what's new is we're actually seeing it now, where I think it was well hidden before, and we didn't know it was there. We didn't know it was happening.
People are waking up.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
The
no
only
question.
thing they need to do is receive their shipment of brown shirts, and they'll know exactly the way they're thinking.
I mean, the stuff that's going on in Utah right now. I mean, it's almost we're almost to that point. It's so blatant. It's so in your face, and they get a big victory. You know, anyone that says that it was a clean election is just parroting a narrative for survival's sake, and it's
Yeah.
astonishing.
Are
Either
are
that or they're on the winning side, right? The winning side says it was a perfect election.
right. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
are you frustrated at the lack of courage from the Republican Party?
I I'm probably beyond frustrated. You get to the point where you just kind of throw your hands up, and you just realize it's just not going to happen from them. And that's what I tell people all the time. If you're waiting for the legislature to fix this problem, you're waiting in vain. It's the
Hmm.
people that are going to fix this. And in America, we still have a government by the people, whether we believe that or not. We still do have that, and And so yeah, I don't look to I don't look upwards for that source of correction. I really look, at the grassroots, at the people who are waking up, and it is interesting when the time is right, they do take action, and policies change. Politicians are, they're not brave people. So if the winds shift, they typically will, jump right in line.
Yeah, the biggest
I,
challenge I see though is the the wacky left is so organized and so vocal, right? So they're that squeaky wheel that everybody's afraid of. And I'm talking when I say everybody, I'm talking about politicians, right and left. And
right.
unfortunately, the conservatives are not vocal at all. In fact, I'll give you a perfect example. I believe the ballot harvesting was tested here in the United States. By the way, that's been going on. The CIA has been running ballot harvesting operations worldwide for several decades. But I'll say it was heavily tested in Orange County, California in 2018. So in Orange County, California in 2018, everybody went to sleep and said 5 out of 5 Republicans won the seat on the Board of Supervisors. They woke up, 5 out of 5 had lost this seat because of due to ballot harvesting. Now, I don't believe they were testing ballot harvesting, guys, and here's why: because ballot harvesting was proven to work in several countries in the Middle East, Venezuela, all over the place. It's proven. I believe they were testing the temperature of the conservatives and see what their response was. And the response was literally this: "Oh, we'll get them next time." So nobody challenged what was so blatantly a steal. Therefore, in 2020, I believe in 2018, they knew they already won the 2020 election based on the apathy of the conservatives at that time.
No doubt about it. And yeah, there's so many different ways to slice that, come at it.
So I've been on a warpath lately with Robert. We're in agreement on this, that we're dealing with a uniparty, and I believe that the Democrats are self-destructing now. I believe that party will probably be gone not too long, and then I believe that the Republican Party will have to be taken care of next, and then we can get beautiful non-party people in and say, "Here's what I believe in. Here's my fruits. Check my background," which will engage the people, so we don't have to look at a ballot and go R. We actually have to be engaged and find out who are we really dealing with here. That's my dream, but I believe it by looking at the way the Democratic Party is being completely dismantled now. I think that may be a reality in the future. But what's your thoughts on having no parties eventually?
Yeah, it's interesting. So in Utah, we have, still predominantly Republican, but we've created this dual path to get on the ballot. Either you go through the convention and through the delegates, and you can get on the primary ballot that way. That's the way I went through it. I got 67% at convention, which under normal circumstances, there is no primary at that point.
Hmm.
You are going on to the general election. Well, they came up with the signature path that allows people to get on with signatures, and that's the way Governor Cox got onto the ballot. And somebody said the other day, I was saying, we've got to get rid of the signature path. They said, well, if you get rid of the signature path, then everybody in Utah will become a Republican, because that's what happens now. Is the Democrats say, well, we can't affect
Mm,
the elections unless we register as Republicans,
right.
and so you have a bunch of Democrats that just register as Republicans that are increasingly running the show. And if you got rid of the signature path, they would all become Republicans. And now the Republican Party, I don't even, I guess we would still call ourselves Republicans, or they would call themselves Republicans, but it would look nothing like the Republican Party. And it's already that way in a state like Utah. If the Democrats aren't strong enough, they just uh, the Republicans just become the Democrat Party.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we're starting to see that countrywide. So, like I say though, and Robert and I talk about this, I think you're probably looking at least 90% actors. as Republicans and Democrats right now, because they have a higher person that they listen to, or being, and that is not the God that we know it to be.
Yeah, yeah.
But I am
Well,
a
it is interesting.
conspiracy theorist, so
Yeah,
or are we
yeah,
conspiracy factualists now, Robert?
I think we're conspiracy factualists at this point. We've earned that badge.
It's crazy, right? So, in the video, your son said something very interesting and poignant. He said he had faith in the judicial system before this, and he was shocked when he saw how it could be manipulated. Is that right?
yeah, yeah. That's people where I come from deal a lot with the Bureau of Land Management because I live in a county that's 8% private property. The rest of it's all owned by the government. And so they'd seen the abuse and kind of the overstepping of the Bureau of Land Management, but it wasn't until the last few years that they've seen really the dark side of the weaponization of the Department of Justice as well. And so yeah, my son saw that firsthand and was astonished. It was we went to that courtroom and I told Jody, my wife, I said, don't worry about this. This is once we get in the courtroom, everything will work itself out. In the media, it was nuts. But we get in the courtroom and holy cow, if you think the media lies, wait till you get a U.S. attorney in there telling a
Yeah.
fabricated story. It's just like, I mean, just makes your head spin.
Yeah, it's amazing. I believe that we're gonna have to tear down about 90% of our infrastructure in order to rebuild from the
Absolutely.
constitutional republic that we should be working with right now. Um, just kind of an interesting note. I noticed that the correctional facility you were at was called Purgatory. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good name. Purgatory Correctional Facility. So,
That was interesting. Um, so you were pardoned by President Trump himself. Is that
yeah.
right?
Um, yeah. It was after the 2020 election, and somebody had told me you can't get pardoned for a misdemeanor. And the U.S. Attorney's Office, they do not stop coming after you. I paid them their $96,000, which was a total scam, and they still were coming after me, just wanting to see tax returns, and then saying, it's a felony that you put this on your disclosure, and now you're saying this on your tax, things like this. And I'm a CPA, so I deal in taxes, and I told Jody, I said that they're just gonna keep coming. And one night it dawned on me that the president can pardon anybody he wants, and so I started filling out the paperwork, and I texted Mike Lee, Senator Lee, and then you heard that on the thing, and yeah, he came right back and um, went to work on it. And then a few months later, I got that pardon from Donald Trump. I guess really a few weeks later, December 20th, 2020, got a call from Jason Chaffetz, yeah, saying that I was getting pardoned. And I said, Jason, I've got a phone number. The president could call me directly. He doesn't have to go through you. I always felt bad. I didn't get the phone call myself. Wanted to talk to him, and I sent him a little video, saying, "Hey, thank you for the consideration. More so, thank you for reducing the Bears Ears National Monument, for having some sensitivity to what's going on in San Juan County and my place. And I'm looking forward to him getting elected and coming back in and reducing that monument again. It's like a football that's getting kicked back and forth, and the losers in this are the people that live there. It's so bizarre.
Well, what do you think the overall goal of the BLM is in that area?
Well, it's the overall goal of the globalist, um, the Carnegie Institute, is to lock up the resources in that area. It's hugely. We have the last remaining uranium processing plant in the United States there, very rich in uranium, very rich in oil and gas, and other minerals too, rare earth minerals. We've got in the Bears Ears National Monument. Most of the rare earth minerals are there, and Carnegie Institute is doing paleontological research as we speak. They're not looking for dinosaur bones; they're looking for rare earth minerals, and they've locked that up for that reason. The BLM, I don't think they even know who's pulling the levers behind that whole operation. They do what they're told.
Yeah.
But there's
It-
somebody that knows what's going on out there in the Bears Ears National Monument, and it's about minerals. I guarantee you. Same thing
yeah.
with the Grand Staircase National Monument. Same thing with that new monument that they just did on the Arizona Utah Arizona border, locking up the rest of the strategic uranium reserves.
Hmm.
It's blatant at this point. There's no question. And at the same time, you've got Hillary Clinton, back in 2012, brokering the deal to sell
Uranium one.
uranium one to Vladimir Putin.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like you cannot make this stuff up. But that's the Arizona Monument. That's the Bears Ears National Monument. These things are all connected to minerals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do agree. BLM's just a puppet of the globalist cabal. So they're told this is how you handle this. Yep, you got it. This is what we're gonna do. It's pretty sad.
Yeah,
Robert,
yeah,
do you have anything?
Yeah, you hit it, Phil, right on the nose. Is exactly they want to lock that up. They don't want the tourists in there. They don't want the locals in there because it's
right.
so hard to take away national lands because they get a lot of pushback from people who really enjoy the open spaces. So it's better to keep them out and not have to worry about it. And there may be things going on there we don't even know about already. Would be my guess.
Yeah, yeah. A friend of mine who works for the BLM, said that the USGS was doing rare earth minerals studies out in the Bears Ears National Monument. Then I looked up the Carnegie Institute, and they're right there with them. So you got, if anybody wants to, look into the history of the Carnegie Institute, they're the same ones that created eugenics. They're the same ones that, I mean, they are the globalists. That is the, you know,
Yeah.
the big money, the central banking money, and they know what's going on. They know what's going on out there.
Yeah,
Well, there's a
absolutely.
challenge too, because China's where the rare earth minerals come from, and China has already said, "Hey, we're not going to sell them anymore." So the batteries and electronics need to be made in China. So the United States is kind of up against the wall there. I can see that, but the way they're going about it, why don't you have a conversation with the people who live here? Why don't we make a deal and say, okay, you could take this area and leave this area for us picnickers and ATV riders and whatnot.
Well,
It
yeah, and
makes sense.
I mean, you kind of alluded to this, but they come in and the BLM comes in, or the Forest Service, the Park Service, whoever, and they say, hey, well, you don't need logging anymore. You could replace that income with recreation. And they say, well, you don't need grazing, you don't need extraction. Recreation can replace all those things. Once you've given up all of your productive industries, then they come in and they say, you know what, we really don't like recreation either. In fact, if you go on the land, you're going to be trespassed. And so for somebody that lives, in a county that's 92% federally controlled, all of a sudden you're a trespasser in your own county, and what was such a beautiful place to live, and so it felt like had so much freedom to go and explore and hunt and do those things. Now you're like relegated to staying on your own private property. It just becomes really untenable, and
Hmm.
that's where they're going with this.
Yeah. So, Phil, with your run for governor being, do you still feel that there's a pathway to the governor's seat in Utah for you?
Yeah, I do. And more important than the governor's seat, and this is what I've said, I don't covet the governor's seat. I want to clean up Utah. I want to see it fixed. We're winning the hearts and minds of the people in Utah, and they are waking up. They're waking up to this. And if the governor right now, his, if you had seen his victory speech, it was basically bashing on Phil Lyman, saying, "I'm the real conservative. These people are not conservatives." He wants to get rid of the convention system. He wants to, just basically be a little dictator in Utah. Thinks he has all the power. And I just watched his base, shrinking, and I continue to watch it to shrink. My goal isn't to reduce his authority. My goal is to expose him for what he is, and then people will stop. They'll have their eyes opened, and they can choose better leaders. Right now, we are challenging his signatures. He got 28,000 signatures, just over that. Had to get 28,000. Turns out it's his office that oversees verifying the signatures. Had the highest verification
Go
ever,
figure.
and no one can. Yeah, and no one can look at it. We can't look at his signature packets. Uh, there's the same company he used to gather his signatures. You pay somebody to do it. If they do that at the county level, then those signatures get verified by the county clerk. Well, a ton of those got thrown out, and these people lost their eligibility to be on the ballot. But the governors, you can't. No one can take a look at that. So we've got a lawsuit right now to look at the signatures, his as well as several other people who gathered signatures. And it used to be that these things on a petition, and that's what it is. It's a petition. They would just publish this on the website. You could go in, you could download the petition, you could verify, you could look at the signatures that were on there. But they changed that now, and boy, they're not going to let us look at the signatures. The election results that came in, some genuine anomalies with election results, and I've been pushing election integrity for the last 3 years, and so we had some serious statistical analyses done, and things that come back that's like, I can't explain why the statistics are doing this, but it's obviously manipulated, it's obviously tampered with. At these various county levels, and again, the lieutenant governor who's over elections, and basically the person that we're running against, is saying you can't look at the election results, you can't have any of the returns, you can't have the cast vote records, you can't have the voter rolls. And I'm a legislator. I'm entitled to all these things as a legislator. I'm entitled to all these things as a candidate, and more than that, I'm entitled to it as a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And we are just being blocked at every turn on that. So if we prevail on the signature lawsuit and we're able to look at those, I think his signatures are going to fail. I suspect the judge would still put him on the general ballot, but it would create a dilemma for the governor to know that he's on there without
that.
signatures.
Then the concern would be that would
stripped of that. It's just that it would be a judge that would be doing that, probably a judge that he appointed.
Mm-hmm.
And so it never quite pans out. In fact, the one of the clerks that had kind of done some of the due diligence, I was telling the people, I said, he's the one that's probably going to lose his job over this and have criminal charges. It's not the bad people who get in trouble in this system. It's the good people that get in trouble. And we still have to do it. We just have to keep pushing and exposing, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing right now, and we'll see where it goes. Like I say, whether we end up with the governor's seat or not, I think we're going to clean up a lot of corruption in the process.
And what's the last day before they can put your name on the ballot?
Well, I could run as a write-in, and I could put in up until September 3rd. That doesn't really appeal to me.
Right.
But the ballots would be printed probably around the first part of October.
Okay.
Because it's universal mail-in ballot. So by end of September, they would know it's going to be on the ballot.
Little time. So I'm going to propose to you that maybe you change some language on something if you don't election reform, because there is no integrity until this system gets reformed anyways.
I will adopt that.
So that's just a belief system here. Robert, do you have anything else?
No, this is going to be really interesting to watch. When is the lawsuit coming into trial, or you're not there yet with the lawsuit?
We're supposed to have a hearing on the 18th to determine, but we've already moved past the records request and into district court, and I don't know if we've got a firm date on that, but it should be around the 18th of July, which soon.
We may have you back after that to talk about that lawsuit and see how that went. We're hoping that you win, because obviously there's, the good guys have to win at some point. There's so much corruption in the system. You were talking about, how the signatures were faked, and now, well, no admission of guilt here. We're just not going to let you see them. You know what I mean? Right there. It's like, well, if you had nothing to hide, you would hide nothing. And clearly that everything's being blocked and you can't look at anything, kind of tells you the whole story right there.
Yeah, it's a mess.
That's a poignant quote, Robert. Love it. If you have nothing to hide, you hide nothing. That is absolutely beautiful. Phil, any last words? Not that you or I are going to pass away anytime soon, but any last words for our audience?
Well, thanks, Louis. Again, I felt your passion when we were down at the border, and I have such great respect for you and what you're doing, and these kind of things make a difference. People talking about this stuff really makes a difference. And Thomas Paine, my favorite quote of his was, he said, "The closer a disease gets to a crisis, the closer it is to a cure." And there's reason to be optimistic right now, because we are getting to a point that people are just going to wake up and start making some reforms, much needed reforms, and whatever form that takes. I'm just excited to watch it happen, and so I appreciate everything that you do.
Excellent, excellent. Phil, we appreciate you. It takes us about 8 to 10 minutes before we're out. If you want to hang on in the background, great. If not, we'll bid you
Yeah,
adieu now. And then again, we really appreciate you. We appreciate your courage and being one of the few people in politics that just say it like it is. That is so
We
needed.
support Phil. We support Phil, right? Let's
Yes,
say it.
and
Let's
we
hear it.
don't do that here, by the way. So yes, we do support you, Phil, and authenticity
thank you.
wins the day, and I feel that you're coming straight from the heart. So thank you very much for that.
And that is why he has the
Yeah, that's
problems he
all I can.
has. He's authentic. He's honest. They don't
Yeah,
want that in that
Yep.
world, you know. Yep. Keep at
Uh,
it, my friend.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you,
Appreciate
guys.
you. Hey, folks, we need to pay the bills, and we also want to get you as healthy as possible. Just real quick, just remember to go to sbgascent.com. Lance Shuttler, who owns this company, makes sure he puts the absolute best products out there. You know, they've come over our desks. I think we're up to about 130, 140 now products, and we've only selected, I think, 3 that we'll put our name behind. This is absolutely one. Go to Scent Nutrition, get coffee, pine needle extract, humic and fulvic acid, and a whole bunch more. The best stuff on the planet for sure. We know that Lance goes to the ends of the earth to make sure none of this has any toxins in it, and it is amazing. So go to sbgascent.com. Supports us, supports Lance, and will support your health and wellness. Guess what's coming up, folks? The Unity Tour. That's right. Take a look at this video that wonderful Lisa produced for us.